I fear that we do a lot of binding on this earth and not enough loosing. It's no wonder we often feel anxious or on edge because we've knit together such a fabric of knots and loops that we capture ourselves in our own nets of deception or nets of kind of secret sins that we don't think affect anyone else. And so we bind up the channels of mercy like pinching a hose to hold back the water by not forgiving those who either sincerely or insincerely ask for mercy. And we bind the strings that are meant to connect us like a giant ball of Christmas lights so that it becomes impossible to feel the ease of being in communion with one another. We bind through grudges and gossip and prejudices. And in all that binding, we are more and more alone, more and more disconnected and bound up in our own cage of solitude, like Lazarus before the voice of Jesus reached his ears when he was in the tomb. We need to stop binding and to start loosing. We need to release the chain of hostility that prevents peace with those who have harmed us. We need to open up the communication that's been stifled by harsh words and ill will. We need to release the reins on the demon of separation that perhaps we've held on to keep people at a distance. We need to let loose the animosity and regret that can tie us up and prevent us from experiencing a new hope. Jesus spent so much time not just unbinding people from their physical disabilities, but unbinding them from the sins that were holding them down, by the things that in their minds and in their hearts that had them kind of captured and isolated and alone. And it's time for us to take up his example. But in order to do this, in order to unbind and let loose, it means that we have to be able to see in a different way. We have to be able to see the freedom that's possible. And that means that we have to kind of get out of this madness that often surrounds us and rise above it so that we can see what's on the horizon, the possibilities that are waiting for us. The prophet Ezekiel in that first reading uses this beautiful image of the watchman. The watchman has the advantage of a higher vantage point. He can see above the walls and the trees and all the obstacles that often block our view. The watchman doesn't just signal the coming of danger, but also the coming of help. When we find ourselves immersed in a battle and we feel beaten down by temptation and the weight of guilt or sin, it's the watchman who is meant to say, keep going, there's help on the way. Don't give up now. Don't let go of the battle because the Lord is coming and he wants to help you. The gift of the Spirit is coming over the horizon to offer you new hope and new life. We need the watchman. It's interesting, the Latin word for bishop reflects this role. The Latin word for bishop is episcopus. It's from two words, epi and scopus. Scopus means to see. Epi means to see, to be above or beyond. Literally, the bishop's role is to see above, to see beyond, to see what's possible for the people under his care. It's not to be an overseer who lords it over his people, but someone who says to his people, it's time for us to move. It's time for us to advance. It's time for us to break out of these cages that we've kind of put ourselves in and get on the move and recognize that there's something waiting for us out there. Something out there that can bring us new life, something that can help us to grow and to experience this overwhelming sense of the presence of God. That's so much better than we better lock the doors because there's dangerous things out there. We're meant to face those dangerous things because we're on the side of the one who has conquered everything. There's no need for us to stay locked up. There's no need for us to stay bound, to stay trapped in our sinfulness and in our brokenness. We're called to go out. And that means we have to see. We have to be willing to see what the Lord wants to show us. There's a great scene in the novel Catcher in the Rye. On the edge of a cliff, there's a tall field of wheat, and there's someone standing there on the cliff, and as people are running through the wheat, they're running off the cliff. And so the catcher stands there at the end of the field and stops people from running over the edge. This is what we're called to do. We have to recognize that right now there are people who are just running off the edge. People who have no sense that there's something dangerous that lies ahead. People that don't even know that maybe if they turned right, that there was something beautiful waiting for them. We're called to be watchmen, so that those whose lives are in danger can experience not just safety from that danger, but a new hope that waits in another direction. And this is the value of all the things really that we're offering in our parish. This is not some sales pitch, but this is why we're offering all of these things. The book by Bishop Barron on the Eucharist, the Bible studies, the Chosen series, the high school group, That Man Is You, all the sacraments that we offer in this place, all of it is for the sake of being able to see things differently, to be able to see more, so that we're not trapped with this limited view of the chaos that seems to surround us, but the ability to rise above and to see something greater coming on the horizon. We have to put on the mind of Scripture, and we have to take on the heart of Christ so that we can love and see in the way that He wants us to love and to see. And so I just want to encourage all of us this week to consider, what is it that is bound in us? What is it that's holding us down? Maybe it's a sin, maybe it's a grudge that we're holding on to, maybe it's a wound from years past, but whatever it is, what is it? Let's name it so that we can move beyond it. And we should also ask ourselves how we're holding other people hostage because of the things that we're holding against them, or the way that we've defined them or categorized them. We have to stop binding and start loosing. Let's ask the Lord to help us to be better watchmen who warn each other of the temptations that are coming our way, but more importantly, who announce the arrival of the army of God, who comes to rescue us from the web of sin.